Hello and welcome back to Seaside Garage and the Mehari. After the previous video where I took apart the engine and, well, some of the engine and found out that it's pretty wrecked, I might even wrecked it myself. It needs a rebuild. I might even end up finding another engine. I'm debating what to do about that because I would like to keep the cost down just a little bit. And it could end up being cheaper to buy a engine that I know runs than to rebuild this one. But I don't really know what to do just yet. But all the other stuff on the Mehari project also needs doing. And actually I got some motivation on this project back when I did the previous video, because I was a bit stuck on this project. Because I have fixed one Mehari before, it's just, I really like the adventure of trying to fix stuff that I don't really know how works and so on. But on a Mehari and Citroën 2CVs in general, I have done a lot of stuff, so I have pretty much messed with everything on those cars. What I want to do in this video is continuing on the chassis, because I need to fit a lot of stuff to this to make it so that I can get the wheels on and all the other stuff. And also one more thing, after I started working on the Mehari, I realized how much space I will free up in my garage when this one is not in here anymore, because I can't move it to my storage facility when it's not drivable and there's not even wheels on it. So it would be so nice to just get all that stuff on it. And when I reach the point where this is drivable and movable, it's pretty much done, to be honest. So I think I'm just gonna get to work on this. As shown in the previous video, I have rebuilt these. I welded on a new end because they were rusty. I painted them. Some of these pull rods are new. This one is new because one of them snapped and some of them were corroded badly, so they were compromised. And if these snaps, it will just collapse. So I changed them. And now I want to fit them. Some will tell you that these suspension are connected front to rear, so that when the front wheel hits a bump, it will be picked up by the rear wheel. I have even told you that. But I hear a lot of people saying that it's happening inside of this. It's not, because this part and this part is not connected. There's just these two springs in here and the cups. But outside of this suspension pod is rubber donuts, and those will flex a little bit. So when this one hits a bump, for instance, or the other side, the front end hits a bump, it will go up. That will pull in this rod, making the entire assembly go a little bit forward because of the rubber bushing up here. That will make the entire assembly go a little bit forward, and then it will pull in this one. And when it pulls in this, it will push the rear wheel a little bit down. So when the front wheel hits a bump, it will pull the rear wheel a little bit down. But it's just a very tiny amount because of it's just the rubber. But let's install this. Before we can do that, we need to fit the ends of the pull rods, which are these. And at first glance you might think that this is something somebody built themselves, but this is how they are made from factory at Citroën. This attaches to the end of the pull rod, and then there is a knife edge down here that I will install a little bit later. You can see it is a bit worn, but there's a lot of life left in this one. But these needs to go on each end right there. This makes it possible to adjust the ride height. We are not going to adjust the ride height in this video because we need all the weight on the chassis before we can do that. But the way you adjust them on the car is just to spin this rod and it will pull it in or out. It's good to have some oil in this one, otherwise it will be really squeaky when you drive it. It will be when you're going over bumps. It's very annoying. Ask me how I know. And you cannot just put any kind of oil in there, because there is that friction material on the cups in the springs that can be wrecked by the wrong oil. I have always been told to use cooking oil with low acids, and I can't guarantee that's the best thing to use, but that is what I have been using for many years and it hasn't been a problem. This time I'm going to choose the best of the best. I got this organic Danish hemp seed oil. It doesn't get any better than that. And it's not just because I had it in the kitchen and it's way overdue on the date. So and also hemp seed oil. If there is an oil that's perfect for the platform, for the 2CV platform, it would be something to do with hemp. I'm going to put some of this into the spring pot. And then I'm just going to spin it around a bit. With that done, the next thing is to make sure that you fit it the right way, because one of the pull rods is longer than the other. I have marked that out. I think it's the rear one that's the longest. It's just a centimeter or something like that. I'm not sure it will make a big difference. Now I should be ready to start the assembly. And this is where I realize I have already done the first mistake, because I shouldn't have fit the eye just yet, because we need to fit this one firstly. So let's do that. And if you ever do this job, make sure to grease these threads, because it's nice to be able to adjust the ride height, and it's also nice to be able to remove it if you need it, and they can get extremely stuck. I got them all loose when I took it apart, except the one that I had to cut, maybe even two, I can't remember exactly. But it's not uncommon that you have to cut the stuff apart. Also, the nut of the assembly right there can be incredibly stuck. So this one goes on like so, and this one like so. And of course the same thing on the other side. This is where I remember I actually forgot to fit this one on the other side also. Whoop. Let's just remember to do it on this side. So this one goes on like that. Then one of these, then this. And the rest of it can be put on when it's on. Now let's fit it to the chassis. You can see down there that there is a opening right there. There's not on the other one. So what we're going to do is to just feed the spring pot through that one, like so. When you're going to do this job, then look at the comments, because there will be a comment telling you how to do this in an easier way. Most likely just to remove these and then put them in afterwards, I think. But now I'm here, I'm gonna make it work anyway. Like that. And then we can push this one through and through the hole. No, we can't, because now this one needs to be moved also. And then we can move this through. And through that hole. Right there. Then out here, we need to fit this one. Grease up the thread with some assembly grease. This is actually really nice. Nothing is rusty. It's just nice. There we go. And then on this end, I'm going to put this one in. This will keep dust and stuff out of the spring pot. Just going to push that over the threads, like so. And then we can go ahead and fit the eye once again. And then right here, we're going to fit what is known as a knife edge. This is where the pull rods rests. Oh, it's the wrong knife edge. There's a thick one and a thin one. I chose the wrong one. This is the correct one for this. And now that I have painted it, it doesn't fit so well anymore. Like that, and then put a clip on each of the sides. So that was the springy bit, but we also need a shock absorber, otherwise the car will just bounce away all the time. So something to stop the bouncing. It's one of these. It's a common problem that these are put on the wrong way around, and I think it's down to that some needs to be fitted the other way and some, because if you look at this, you could be a little bit confused. As far as I know, this goes onto here like so, the dust cap towards the wheel, and this is the rear wheel. If you fit these the wrong way around, you will have a really, really weird driving experience, and it's already weird in a 2CV or Mehari, so but it's going to be really weird. But I'm going to fit this, and I just remembered that this is the only one I have. I need 3 more, and they are on the old chassis, so I'm not going to do more tonight than fit this, because I need to go out and see if I can get them off, and it's snowy outside right now and completely pitch dark. And also I don't have the right size socket. I don't like to use this kind of adjustable wrench normally, but this time it will be all right. So with this one in place, I'm going to grease up these just to make it possible to get them off once in the future. Because especially that bushing or the metal pipe inside the bushing can get so incredibly stuck. I know they are stuck on the ones on the chassis outside. I'm gonna fight those tomorrow, but there's no reason for these to get stuck at least. There's also a mark over here that needs to point towards the top, upwards. On some models it's the other way around, so make sure you do that correctly, otherwise it won't work really well. I'm just going to torque them. And right there, that's one side done. I can't do any more tonight because I need to extract the bolts from the chassis. Yeah, I know it's the old rusty bolts, but you know what? Within a couple of days of driving this, they will be rusty anyway. But I will spray them over with some oil to just protect it as good as possible. This is the rear suspension on the Mehari and the 2CV. The pull rod going into the suspension pod and the shock absorber. And then when it moves up, you can see it all works. And by adjusting the length of this, by turning it, you can adjust the actual ride height. You can see how soft the suspension is because I'm not using a lot of force. Still I'm moving it. So yeah. Woo! It's the next day and it's already evening once again. I used the day to go to a shop that sells a 26 long socket. That's not just something you can get everywhere, and at least not in my country. It's a pretty rare size, and especially for a long socket size. This one will fit those bolts that I was talking about that was still attached to the old chassis. These are pretty tight in there. They have been stuck in there since 1975. And this is not the first time I take a Mehari apart, or a 2CV, and these are always problematic in my opinion. Most likely because I haven't got the right socket. The one that I installed yesterday was removed last year, I think, when I took the chassis apart. And I can remember that I used at least a couple of hours to get that free with a lot of heat and an extension on the wrench, and still I was lifting the chassis rather than loosening it up. It took a long time. But this time, with the correct socket and this powerhouse of a torque wrench from Skill. I'm sponsored by Skill, but seriously, this thing is awesome. It just removed them with the highest level, of course, and the nut buster feature. It just got them loose. This one has also helped me remove flywheels or pulley wheels on engines, which are normally a very, very stuck thing. Sometimes that nut is what I use the most time on when I change cam belts, and that's saying something. But this one is so amazingly strong. I'd say it's stronger than my air gun, which is impressive. Let's get to work and install the one on the other side. And firstly, we need to install this nut. And for the Danes watching the videos, you will most likely see the wooden crate underneath the chassis with the word Fyn written on it. That's the island where I live, and it's called Fyn. There we go. It's in there and it's tight. And then we're gonna put this rubber thingy on it. Put that on the threads like so. And then install this over here. Just gonna put some grease in there for the knife point. And on this side, it's a small knife point. Knife blade, I'm not sure what the name is in English at least. But yeah, spring, like that, and like that. There we go, and then we need to fit this one, and that needs to point towards the wheel, and also have a top that's there. It's supposed to go here, but we need to install this bolt, and also install the plate up here. Like that, and as you can see, I have forgot to paint this one, but you know what, I can paint it with it on the actual chassis, so that will just happen. But firstly, I need to fit this unit to this one, just loosely. Yeah, I know some of this hardware is pretty rusty, but it's going to be rusty anyway within a very short amount of time, so I'm not that worried about it. It's just not looking very shiny and nice, that's all. Just loosely for now. I'm actually also going to fit it onto this. Oh, I have to put on the big washer firstly, and then and put some grease on this shaft. Oh, I forgot that on the other one. I will just quickly do that. Onto there. And then this plate fits onto these very tiny 12mm bolts with a weird thread in them, so it's not just something you can find in your box of random hardware unless you work on these cars a lot. That's 11mm. I forgot. And now I showed you that I torqued these up on the other side yesterday, and I will do the same now, but actually that's wrong, because currently it's not resting in its normal resting position once the car is all back together. And you will really wear these bushings out on all cars, not only 2CVs. I don't think it's that bad on a 2CV actually. But when weight is put on this, it will be in a different location. It might go up a little bit or something like that. And if you tighten it up now, then the bushing will be in constant tension when the car is resting, and you don't want that. You want it to have no tension when it's resting, and then have some tension once it's being used, you know. So the correct thing to do would be to loosen these up once we are finished up with, once the car is all back together with the engine and all that, and it's back on the ground. That would be the correct thing to do. Then we have some suspension on this one also. So I'm gonna go ahead and do exactly the same on the other side. And then the suspension is pretty much done. So this is it. The suspension is now done on the Mehari. Important step. But there is a lot of stuff to do still. I think the next thing chassis-wise will be to fit the steering knuckle things and so on. I actually had in mind that I would sandblast and paint them also, but I won't, I think, at least right now, because to do that I would have to push out the bearings, and to push out the bearings would most likely wreck them. Then I will have to buy new bearings, and they are just fine. And the same goes with the kingpin, it's just fine. But if I push out those bushings, it will be wrecked, I think. So I think what I will end up is just giving them a wire reel clean, and then either some paint or just some over troll oil. That is protecting it pretty well also. I have to do some thinking about that. But other than that, it's a big step for this project, and it's nice to be back on it, and I have actually gained some motivation on this project. It's a lot of fun to do. So that's really nice actually, because I've had grinded to a halt on this one. But I think I will just soldier on. Yes, the sap is coming also, but I think I will allocate quite a lot of time to get this done also, to get it out of the garage and just get it done, because it deserves it. And this is a 4-seater Mehari, and the summer will arrive at some point, and it would be nice to have this one to drive around in also. Anyway, thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.